Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to check me out on my other platforms such as Odyssey, Rumble, and Twitch. Links are in the description. Disinformation, the Illuminati. I have 3 unknown sources, mostly because I just copied and pasted the article to a Word document and didn't take the time to put the link on the page. You got 3 unknown sources. The other one's Fiona Marcray at the Daily Mail, and then G. Edward Griffin, and then of course the Holy Bible. Okay. Disinformation is taking a subject matter and intentionally falsifying it. Misinformation is reporting on a subject matter and not getting the facts straight. In other words, misinfo is ignorance, and error. Disinfo is lying to conceal. As Christians, we know that lying is a sin. Exodus 20:16. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Proverbs 12:22. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are a delight. John 8:42 through 44. Jesus said unto them, If God were your Father, ye would love me, for I proceed forth and come from God. Neither came I from myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech, even because ye cannot hear my word? Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Okay. Now someone wrote this article on disinformation that I'm going to take excerpts from. Just type in spotting disinfo on a search engine, but be careful because there's a lot of results, most claiming that known people in the truth movement are disinfo agents, and that's putting it nicely. There's a lot of foul language and anti-Semitism thrown around. Long story short, I copied and pasted it to a Word doc before printing. And there are many aspects to the truth movement. Those who are exposing a globalist agenda may be working for the Illuminati themselves. People that claim to have been the Illuminati should be investigated and compared to each other and to history. I could tell you there's a good handful of people that are known to have been in the Illuminati, or so they claim, and some of them don't exactly line up with what the others have to say. Okay, so those who claim to have the documents should either share the link or inform the people how to obtain them. Those who align themselves with any major corporations, media groups, major political parties, the New Age movement, collective consciousness movement, tax-exempt foundations, financial institutions, and or environmental movement should be looked into and investigated with a very, very critical mind. Not like calling them out, but you really got to think hard upon it and study upon it and investigate them. And follow the money, because a lot of these corporations that we know are not on our side fund a good variety of those whom we consider to be truth movement, or people of that like. Okay, so 1 Timothy 6:10, for the love of money is the root of all evil. which while some covet after they erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and touch on key points of this article, or I might even read the whole article. So I'll just start. Disinformation agents, whether wittingly or unwittingly, will usually believe the story they tell, and this is a standard procedure in keeping secrets. These are cover stories that are fed to them with the purpose of compartmentalizing the knowledge and activities of the secret programs that they might actually be privy to. Virtually no one but those few people at the top will either know the full truth about the secret program. Okay, the ultimate purpose of disinformation agent is threefold. A, to create a sense of ridicule about anything that they include in their story, so that even what is true will not be believed by intelligent people. B, to mislead those who are gullible enough to believe their story. And C, to divert the efforts of those who seek to know the truth through further investigations. Alright, let me skip down here. To measure the claims that are being made by someone, it is necessary to always pay attention to what they say and how they present it. For instance, 1. What percentage of their claims can be checked out compared to what can't? What seems to be their motive for making their claims? Do they act fairly and honestly during a discussion? Do they act like they are beyond questioning? Are they willing to provide further evidence of their claims when it's asked for? Do they claim to have special inside sources that gives them a special edge on the facts? Now hold on just right here. Oftentimes I have heard this, oh, I have inside sources, or blah, blah, blah. Now, I understand if they said, well, there's a general or a top-level official or so-and-so, but they use the title or they use the term someone has worked there or so forth, and then they could say, but they want to stay anonymous because they don't want to get killed or so forth. That to me is okay when they say the title of the person, like a general or whatever, or CIA agent or whatever. But then they go on to say, but I can't reveal their name because, for obvious reasons. That's okay. But again, further investigate the matter. Okay. Moving on, number 7. Do they claim early on to be interested in exposing what is going on at whatever the cost, but then later blatantly withhold information? Do they ever offer valid sources of information that would support some of what they say? Do they admit when they're only assuming something or speculating, or do they pass off everything as hard fact? Do they often leave it to you to fill in what they aren't saying, revealing on you to use your imagination to make the connections between certain things? How much do they expect you to put into what they say? Do they attempt to use emotional appeals to gain support for their claims, or do they stick to the straight, unemotional, unimbued information? That one and this one, do they convey a lot of fear by by the way they describe things? Now, I'm going to stop there for a second and note this. I've listened to many different types of conspiracy theorists, different types of end times theologians, a lot of Bible people, a lot of prophet people, a lot of people that have so-called inside information, or just straight up, alternative media, truth-seeking findings. Now, there's a difference. I could tell in my spirit the difference between someone who's conveying fear and then someone who's trying to get the truth out. There's a difference. And sometimes you can get a little emotional about things, but at the same time, for the most part, if they keep the same type of attitude throughout the whole thing and not make it a big blasted rant and stuff, then you know that that person is sincere in what they're saying, or at least they're doing a good job of appearing so. So going back to this, those who using emotions to lay out their presentation, or using fear mongering to get you to just kind of pull the sheets over yourself and hide under the table, you need to look into that very intently. Okay, moving on. Do they spend an excessive amount of time going over less significant or more widely known information than they do going over the more significant aspects of their claims, or in discussing any new info they might have to claim? Can they explain what they claim in a logical and scientific way, what might offer the ability to test, or do they avoid those important aspects and rely instead on emotional appeal for persuasion? Is the way they present themselves that of an honest and fair, respectful person that can admit being wrong, or are there telltale quirks in their personality that might indicate otherwise? And lastly, do they include any terminology or phrases that are unusual and can't be found anywhere else where the same meaning applies? Now, some of them share it. Okay, so this, in parentheses, I'm going to read what this person has to say, just right after this. I see this with almost every person I've come across that I've suspected of being a high-profile disinformation agent. And I have a suspicion that this terminology is purposely planted in order to track the spread of the disinformation from the original source and to indicate what pieces of disinformation are being brought into and what aren't. You can usually determine whether the phrases are legitimate or just made up by doing an internet search for them to see who else uses them. Alright, so, and then the second part right here. Here are some further points I found online from disinformation tactics of shills and online trolls/zombies. These are common traits of low-level disinfo agents, although they may usually fit high-profile ones as well. Okay, I'm going to read these ones too. Avoidance. They never actually discuss issues head-on or provide constructive input, generally avoiding citation of references or credentials. Rather they merely imply this, that and other. Virtually everything about their presentation implies their authority and expert knowledge in the matter without any further justification or for credibility. Selectivity. They tend to pick and choose opponents carefully, either applying the hit-and-run approach against mere commentators supportive of opponents, or focusing heavier attacks on key opponents who are known directly to address issues. Should a commentator become argumentative with any success, the focus will shift to include the commentator as well. And this happens a lot. You go on any message board of any type of YouTube post or article for alternative media, and you will see these things just light up like that. Coincidental participation. They tend to surface suddenly and somewhat coincidentally with a new controversial topic with no clear prior record of participation in general discussions, in particular public arena involved. They likewise tend to vanish once the topic is no longer of general concern. They were likely directed or elected to be there for a reason and vanish with no reason. So you see them once an article is posted or a YouTube video is posted that's widely known, they'll be there right at the beginning to post all these negative comments or such, and then once the new article comes out, you'll see that no more comments are being posted by this particular person. Teamwork. They tend to operate in a self-congratulatory and complimentary packs or teams. Of course, this can happen naturally in any public forum, but there will likely be an ongoing pattern of frequent exchanges of this sort where professionals are involved. Sometimes one of the players will infiltrate the opponent's camp to become source for a straw man or other tactics designed to dilute opponent presentation strength. Anti-conspiratorial. They almost always have a disdain for conspiracy theorists, and usually for those who in any way believe JFK was not killed by Lee Harvey Oswald. Ask yourself why. If they hold such disdain for conspiracy theorists, do they focus on defending a single topic discussed in a news group focusing on conspiracies? One might think they would either be trying to make fools of everyone on the topic or simply ignore the group they hold such disdain for. Or one might more rightly conclude they have an ulterior motive for their actions in going out of their way to focus as they do. And that happens a lot. Artificial emotions. This is a big one. An odd kind of artificial emotionalism and usually unusual thick skin, an ability to preserve and persist even the face of overwhelming criticism and unacceptance. This likely stems from an intelligence community training that no matter how condemning the evidence, denying everything, and never become emotionally involved or reactive. The net result for a Disinfo artist is that emotions can seem artificial. Most people, if responding in anger, for instance, will express their animosity throughout their rebuttal. But Disinfo types usually have trouble maintaining the image and are hot and cold with respect to pretending emotions, and usually more calm or unemotional communication style. It's a job, and they often seem unable to act their role and character as well as a communications medium as they might be able in real face-to-face conversation / confrontation. You might have outright rage and indignation one moment, ho-hum the next, and more anger later. An emotional yo-yo with respect to being thick-skinned. No amount of criticism will deter them from doing their job, and they will generally continue their old Disinfo patterns without any adjustments to criticism of how obvious it is that they play that game. Where a more rational individual who truly cares what others think might seem to improve their communication style, substance, and so forth, or simply give up. Inconsistent, there is also a tendency to make mistakes which betray their true self-motives. This may stem from not really knowing their topic, or may somewhat be Freudian. Right. Time consistent. There is 3 ways that could seem to work, especially when a government or other empowered player is involved in a cover-up operation. A. Any news group posting by a targeted proponent for truth can result in an immediate response. The government and other empowered players can afford to pay people to sit there and watch for an opportunity to do some damage. Since disinfo in a news group only works if the reader sees it, fast response is called for, or the visitor may be swayed towards truth. B. When dealing in more direct ways with a disinformationalist, such as email, delay is called for. There will usually be a minimum of 48 to 72 hours delay. This allows a sit-down team discussion on response strategy for the best affected, and even enough time to get permission or instruction from a formal chain of command. And C. In the news group example above, it will often also be seen that bigger guns are drawn and fired after the same 48 to 72 hours delay. The team approached in play, and this is especially true when the targeted truth seeker or comments are considered more important with respect to potential to reveal the truth. Thus, a serious truthsayer will be attacked twice for the same sin. So right there, I mean, I've seen it in incidents like Sandy Hook, and incidents like the Fort Hood shooting, most of the shootings, where the news will report on it immediately, and then after 24 to 72 hours, some of the things change, like handgun got changed to an AR-15, or someone started shooting all the way through, where in fact he was using a knife at first. Just things like that, little things, but and the biggest thing right now is, let's rewind the clock back to the big Sony hack. We found out that as they were trying to blame the South Korean government about the movie, The Interview, or the North Korean government about the movie The Interview, that the North Koreans were behind the hack. Well, then they found out that 2 women in payroll that got, or HR, or whatever, they got let go, and their salary combined actually paid for Seth Rogen's involvement in the film. Exactly the same amount of pay. And we found out it was those 2 women. But now, after several months has passed since the release of the movie The Interview, I see on 60 Minutes, they're talking about safeguarding firewalls for our military and our CIA and the White House, what have you. And it's like, what can we prevent another Sony hack by the North Koreans? And so they're going back to that type of narrative to put focus on North Korea. So that was, in a nutshell, the disinfo thing. And then I'm just going to read the bottom part of the last paragraph. The underlying reason for building on this earlier disinformation campaign is because it works so well and continues to work well in covering up a far more plausible but equally sinister truth. All right. So staying on the subject of disinformation, someone posted on their site various logos of alternative media. Many of them using the all-seeing eye, square and compass, fertility spiral, triquetra, symbol of Saturn or Set. Now, some of it, to the at first glance doesn't look at it. Some of them making fun of it, like End the Lie has the all-seeing eye in the middle, almost like the New York Times beacon, which some of it's to poke fun of it, but some not. But after reading that article, before I read the article about these logos, Matthew 7:15 through 16, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, that inwardly they are ravenous wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes off thorns, or figs off thistles? Okay, so now I look at this and I see a lot of occult symbolism in some of them. In some of them, you just think of poking fun, like the core media group says CM in the middle of a big giant G that looks like a square, which the cube is another symbol as well. I see the prison planet logo. It's a circle with a P, and if you turn it upside down, it's also a P, and it almost looks exactly like the CERN Hadron Super Collider. And then there's Uric Alert, and Oracle Broadcasting, and GCN, which kind of has a fertility spiral. Loudping.com looks like the CBS logo with a few things on it, almost like the all-seeing eye. Now, you look down at the ABC Nightline. They have a side-by-side comparison with the InfoWars Nightly News. Now, ABC, it's that circle that says ABC in the middle, and then that has that thing like just kind of like a shiny thing, but it almost looks like a ring of Saturn around it, or of a horizon. Now, InfoWars has the same thing on their circle as well. Now, I'm not calling out anyone in particular. I mean, you probably know who some of these people are. But at the same time, just keep in mind that it could be all part of an esoteric thing. I'm going to let you conclude and do your own research on whether or not these people are actually for the cause or against the cause. Okay, and then this person writes in his article, why utilize Illuminati symbolism? I know they claim they are fighting the New World Order, but if a priest is fighting Satan, he does not use an upside-down pentagram as a symbol of his movement/organization. Consider what they don't showcase/highlight in so-called alternative media. Plumgate and the 40,000 fatalities, the 5,200 child porn downloaders in the DoD and the Pentagon who have gone unpunished for years, 7,800 chips implanted in veterans' brains without their consent or knowledge by the CIA, tons of weapon-grade plutonium the U.S. helped Japan create, even allowing their scientists in our weapons facilities over here in the States, the GWEN towers that have been carefully positioned throughout the country. There are more, but you get the idea. The alternative media is the mainstream media. It's what they won't talk about that gives them away, which are very good points. Some of them won't talk about certain things because they might not have dug research on things or whatever, but some people actually send them tips for their broadcasts and shows, and they ignore them because it doesn't have a big enough draw. Okay, continue on with the subject of disinformation. I have an article from the Daily Mail in 2009 by Fiona McCrae. DNA evidence can be fabricated and polluted at crime scenes, scientist warns. I'll read the article in a moment. This tech has been out for over 6 years now, If DNA can be manipulated at crime scenes, that means innocent people can be framed. Political dissenters, pastors, intelligence agents that are not on board with the program, and you get the idea. In addition to crime scene manipulation, one can conclude that a powerful group can use doppelgangers, or really good lookalikes for those who don't know what a doppelganger is, to reinforce an alibi fabrication. So here's the bulk of the article. Scientists have shown it is possible to fake DNA evidence, potentially undermining the credibility of the key forensic technique. Using equipment found in labs and down the country, up and down the country, they obliterated the traces of DNA from a blood sample and added someone else's genetic material in its place. The swap was so successful that it fooled scientists who carried out DNA fingerprints for U.S. courts. Forensics evidence often analyzes crime dramas such as CSI, crime scene investigation, as above. May not be the gold standard for such cases anymore. It shows, a picture of a guy scraping some evidence, or a woman in a wine glass. So, we're going to go down. DNA material can be gathered from empty wine glasses or cigarette butts, hair, chewing gum, you name it. And then it says at the bottom, this is a very important case, but the investigations are not carried out on the basis of DNA alone. So there you have it. If you want to find it, just do a search. DNA evidence can be fabricated and planted at crime scenes, scientists warn. dailymail.uk. So there you go. Now the last thing I want to go over is called the Secret Covenant. I don't know how authentic this document is, so I'm going to read to you real quickly. This is from G. Edward Griffin. On March 25th, 2004, I received an email copy of a document entitled The Secret Covenant. It appeared to be a blueprint for a master conspiracy to dominate the world. The author was anonymous, and the original text was dated June 21st, 2002. Came from a non-functioning email address. Nevertheless, it was so convincing that the lady who sent it to me believed it was an authentic message from a member of the Illuminati. She wrote, Mr. Griffin, maybe you're already aware of this document from an unknown author, but I thought it was worth sending it to you. It's so powerful in its statement that you cannot imagine to be a hoax. Anyone with a sane mind will notice that we are already in that world. I just feel it is warning us, but how many will believe it? You and I know that that world is here. What amazes me is that one of the Illuminati is actually warning us. Okay, so it's called a Secret Covenant. Okay, so before we go on, it says, the Bank Index editorial staff thanks you for your email regarding this piece, but we do not know who he or she is. This piece comes in through one of our forms, and the author has left an unusable email address. Thank you. Written by unknown author, has submitted. Second version posted June 21st, 2002. Okay, so it starts. An illusion will be so large, so vast, it will escape their perception. Those who will see it will be thought of it as insane. We will create separate fronts to prevent them from seeing the connection between us. We will behave as if we are not connected to keep the illusion alive. Our goal will be to accomplish one drop at a time so as never bring suspicion upon ourselves. This will also prevent them from seeing changes as they occur. We will always stand above the relative field of their experience, for we know the secrets of the absolute. We will work together always and will refrain and remain bound by blood and secrecy. Death will come to he who speaks. That's what it says. And we will keep their lifespan short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology to settle in subtle ways so they will never see what is happening. We will use soft metals, aging accelerators, and sedatives in food and water. Also in the air, they will be blanketed by poisons everywhere they turn. Soft metals will cause them to lose their minds. We will promise to find a cure from our many fronts, yet we will feed them more poison. The poisons will be absorbed through their skins, mouths. They will destroy their minds and reproductive systems. From all this, their children will be born dead, and we will conceal this information. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them, and what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. Wear, that's a big one. We must be ingenious in dispensing the poisons, for they can see far, or if they can see far. We will teach them that the poisons are good, with fun images and musical tones. Those they look up to will help. We will enlist them to push our poisons. They will see our product as being used in film and will grow accustomed to them and will never know their true effect. When they give birth, we will inject poisons into their blood of their children and convince them it's for their health. We will start early on, and their minds are young. When their minds are young, we will target their children with what children love most, sweet things. When their teeth decay, we will fill them with metals that will kill their mind and steal their future. When their ability to learn has been affected, we will create medicine that will make them sicker and cause other diseases, for which we will create yet more medicine. We will render them docile and weak before us by our power. They will grow depressed, slow, and obese. And when they come to us for help, we will give them more poison. And then it goes on to say, we will focus their attention towards money and material goods, so that many never connect with their inner self. We will distract them with fornication, external pleasures, and games, so they may never be one with the oneness of it all. Their minds will belong to us, and they will do as we say. If they refuse, we shall find ways to implement mind-altering technology into their lives. We will use fear as our weapon, and establish their governments, and establish opposites within. We will own both sides. We will always hide our objective, but carry out our plan. They will perform the labor for us, and we shall prosper from their toils. Okay, so right there in that last paragraph, establish their government and establish opposites. I think that goes beyond a two-party system, personally. Our families will never mix with theirs. Our blood must be pure always, for it is the way. We will make them kill each other when it suits us. We will keep them separated from oneness by dogma and religion. We will control all aspects of their lives and tell them what to think and how. We will guide them kindly and gently, letting them think they are guiding themselves. We will foment an animosity between them through our factions. When a light shall shine among them, we shall extinguish it by ridicule or death, whichever suits us best. We will make them rip each other's hearts apart and kill their own children. We will accomplish this by using hate as our ally, anger as our friend. The hate will blind them totally, and never shall they see that from their conflicts we emerge as their rulers. They will be busy killing each other. They will bathe in their own blood and kill their neighbors for as long as we see fit. We will benefit greatly from this, as it goes on to say, for they will not see us, for they cannot see us. We will continue to prosper from their wars, their deaths. We shall repeat this over and over until our ultimate goal is accomplished. We will continue to make them live in fear and anger through images, sounds. We will use all the tools we have to accomplish this. The tools will be provided by their labor. We will make them hate themselves and their neighbors. We will always hide the divine truth from them, that we are all one. They must never know that color is an illusion. They must always think they are not equal. Drop by drop, we will advance our goal. Well, anyways, you get the picture of how it goes. And you could just look up Secret Covenant, but let's fast forward. This says something about truth be hidden in their face, self-delusion. But so here's the creepy part of it. See, when all is in place, the reality will have created for them will own them. This reality will be their prison. They will live in self-delusion. When our goal is accomplished, a new era of dominion begins. Their minds will be bound by their beliefs, that the beliefs we have established from the time immemorial. If they ever find out they are equal, we shall perish them. This they must never know. If they ever find out that together they can vanquish us, they will take action. They must never ever find out what we have done. For if they do, we shall have no place to turn. It will be easy to see who we are once the veil has fallen. Our actions will be revealed, who we are, and they will hunt us down, and no person shall give us shelter. This is a secret covenant by which we shall live in rest of our present and future lives. For this reality we will transcend many generations of lifespans. The covenant is sealed by blood, our blood, we the ones who from heaven to earth came. Wow. This covenant must never ever be known to exist. It must never ever be written or spoken of, for if it is, then the consciousness will release the fury of the prime creator upon us, and we shall be cast to the depths from whence we came, remain there until the end time of infinity itself. So then I typed something right after. This document's authenticity is unknown. It seems fairly accurate to what has been going on. This was received by G. Edward Griffin in 2004. And he mostly does stuff about medicine and the Federal Reserve, international banking, and the CFR, and so forth. and he just sticks to what he knows. information that can be easily found. And he's been doing that for the last 40, 50 years. So anyways, so who knows if that's real or not, or maybe it's done by some individual who possibly means well. So Ephesians 6:10 through 12, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, principalities, and powers, and we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So there is no way to confirm it again. So fallen angels, Genesis 6:2, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and took them wives of all which they chose. In verse 4 it says, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, some became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
So do your own research. Everything from mainstream media to your alternative media. Do your own research. God bless you.